Welcome students. Today we are going to discuss the various genres of photography. Photography is one of the most wonderful and beautiful inventions of mankind. From very rough and sketchy images, photography has now reached new heights thanks to digital technologies. The rapid developments in image capturing, processing and printing did not very much alter the core genres of photography. However, some new genres have also emerged in recent years. This chapter discusses the various kinds of photography. The objectives of this instructional programs are to scan through the different genres of photography and to understand the various terminologies associated with it. We also attempt to differentiate the various genres to identify their characteristics. Generally speaking, there are three main topics one can photograph: people, nature and things. Subsequently, we can classify these into specific types tightly related to their purpose. Depending on that very purpose, the images can either depict real or constructed scenarios and have a commercial or creative end. Identifying photographic genres. Classifying the types of photography is a really difficult exercise. Is portrait photography a genre or a technique? And what about candid photography? To get an idea of the complexity, look at the listing on the Wikipedia for genres of photography. Even if you can identify genres, there is often lots of overlap between the different genres, and it is tough deciding what is a genre and what is a subgenre. Four basic categories. In working on identifying photographic genres, it is helpful to divide photographic genres into four basic categories: creative, editorial, retail and personal. Genres that tend towards being focused on creating a fictional reality can be called creative. Genres of photography such as commercial, fashion and erotic photography fit in here. Creative genres allow a significant element of fantasy, and so their ethical parameters are far broader than for editorial images. Genres that set out to be non-fiction and record reality in a more objective manner can be called editorial. Of course, these categories are certainly not absolute. No photography is completely objective. Retail genres focus on services to the end user. That could be in taking a passport photo, or it could be photographing a wedding. The focus tends to be pleasing the client. Finally, personal genres tend to be more the recording of personal memories and for private use. Creative genres. Creative genres tend to allow an element of fantasy and so are more liberal in terms of photographic ethics, allowing significant retouching and blending of images and so on. Some of the photography included in creative genres are the following. 1. Commercial photography. It is a category that is best described as a photograph that is used to help sell, advertise or market a product, service, person or persons. All those photographs that you can see in magazines, online publications, billboards, CD covers or posters all fall under commercial photography. Commercial photographers help people promote their business. They help sell their products. They help market business. Commercial photographers take photographs that will help people reach their goals. Fashion photography. Over time, fashion photography has developed its own aesthetics, in which the clothes and fashions are enhanced by the presence of exotic locations or accessories. The emphasis in fashion photography does not lie on the garments, but on the mood and styling of the image. The garments are merely an accessory to convey a certain lifestyle. Therefore, the whole image is much more complex. Usually, one see plain white or off-white backgrounds in fashion photography, and the models are usually styled very dramatically with thick eyeliners, dramatic eyeshadows, etc. With the increased complexity in styling also comes an increased complexity in lighting to make the image look more dramatic. While many commercial photographers only stick with one light for the model, fashion photographers tend to use a wide array of lights and lighting accessories. When doing a fashion shoot, one can use up to 7 lights to get the dramatic look. Some others use 10 or more lights for fashion. Fine art photography. Fine art photography stands in contrast to representational photography such as photojournalism, which provides a documentary visual account of specific subjects and events, literally representing objective reality rather than the subjective intent of the photographer. Erotic photography is a style of art photography of an erotic and even a sexually suggestive or sexually provocative nature. Erotic photography is generally a composed image of a subject in a still position. Erotic photography should be distinguished from nude photography, which contains nude subjects not necessarily in an erotic situation, and pornographic photography, which is of a sexually explicit nature. Pornographic photography generally does not claim any artistic or aesthetic merit. Since the 1960s, erotic photography is increasingly described as glamour photography. Food photography. Food photography is a still life photography genre used to create attractive still life photographs of food. It is a specialization of commercial photography, the products of which are used in advertisements, magazines, packaging, menus or cookbooks. Professional food photography is a collaborative effort usually involving an art director, a photographer, a food stylist, a property list and their assistants. Editorial genres. Editorial genres tend to be governed by a more stringent code of ethics, particularly in genres like photojournalism and scientific photography, where a minimum retouching would be allowed, and it is done primarily in the service of ensuring clarity for the scene. This is because these genres make claims that what has been captured accurately reflects the situation or event as it was witnessed. But among these genres, there is a wide deviance in terms of the ethics expected. Vernacular photography, often called amateur photography, the kind of photography we all practice around our family and friends, would tend to have no expected ethical standards. People take what they want to according to what their community and social group treats as acceptable. Editorial photography includes the following. 1. Architectural photography. Architectural photography is a photographing of buildings and similar structures that are both aesthetically pleasing and accurate representation of their subjects. Architectural photographers are usually skilled in the use of specialized techniques and equipment. The unique nature of architectural photography is the use of controlled perspective with an emphasis on vertical lines that are non-converging. This is achieved by positioning the focal plane of the camera so that it is perpendicular to the ground, regardless of the elevation of the camera eye. This result can be achieved by the use of view cameras, tilt or shift lenses or post processing. Traditionally, view cameras have been used for architectural photography as they allow the lens to be tilted or shifted relative to the film plane. This allows for control of perspective as well as variety of creative possibilities. Nature photography. It refers to a wide range of photography taken outdoors and devoted to displaying natural elements such as landscapes, wildlife, plants and close-ups of natural scenes and textures. Nature photography tends to put a strong emphasis on the aesthetic value of the photo than other photography genres such as photojournalism and documentary photography. Nature photography included wildlife photography, landscape photography and garden photography. A number of ethical concerns and debates surround the creation of nature photography. Common issues involve the stress or harm to wildlife, destruction of the natural areas, and veracity and manipulation in photography. Live photography. Live photography is a genre of photography used for the depiction of inanimate subject matter, typically a small group of objects. It is the application of photography to the still life artistic style. An example is food photography. This genre gives a photographer more leeway in the arrangement of design elements within a composition compared to other photographic genres such as landscape or portrait photography. Lighting and framing are important aspects of still life photography composition. War photography. War photography involves photographing armed conflict and its effects on people and places. Photographers who participate in this genre may find themselves placed in harm's way and are sometimes killed trying to get their pictures out of the war arena. Journalists and photographers are protected by international conventions of armed warfare, but history shows that they are often considered targets by warring groups, sometimes to show hatred of their opponents and other times to prevent the facts shown in the photographs from being known. War photography has become more dangerous with the advent of terrorism in armed conflicts. In the Iraq war, 36 photographers and camera operators were abducted or killed during the conflict from 2003 to 2009. Sports photography. It refers to the genre of photography that covers all types of sports and game events. In the majority of cases, professional sports photography is a branch of photojournalism, while amateur sports photography such as photos of children playing association football is a branch of vernacular photography. The main application of professional sports photography is for editorial purposes. Dedicated sports photographers usually work for newspapers, major wire agencies or dedicated sports magazines. However, sports photography is also used for advertising purposes, both to build a brand as well as to promote a sports in a way that cannot be accomplished by editorial means. Documentary photography. It usually refers to a popular form of photography used to chronicle events or environments both significant and relevant to history and historical events as well as everyday life. It is typically covered in professional photojournalism or real life reportage, but it may also be an amateur, artistic or academic pursuit. Aerial photography. The art of aerial photography, in which photographs of the earth's surface are made with specialized roll film cameras carried aloft on balloons, airplanes and spacecrafts, is an important segment of a broader generic technology, remote sensing. Aerial photography normally provides higher ground resolution and geometric accuracy than the imagery obtained with electronic sensors, especially when covering small areas. It is a foundation for map making, urban planning and some other applications. Street photography. Capturing ordinary everyday life in public spaces or life as it happens is known as street photography. It is very similar to candid photography, but a photographer documents the public space as he or she sees it. A street photographer should not just look at the popular tourist spot, but he or she should try out some real life scenes coupled with some behind the scene images. They must be observant about every little aspect around them. As soon as they see a story unfold, they should not hesitate to capture the moment. Retail genres, commercial genres. Retail genres are about serving private persons primarily and aiding them to record a significant milestone or achievement in life. Retail photography is probably best defined as any photography for which the photographer is paid for images rather than works of art. In this light, money could be paid for the subject of the photograph or the photograph itself. Wholesale, retail and professional uses of photography would fall under this definition. The commercial photographic world could include portrait and wedding photography. Photographs made and sold directly to the end user of this image. Frequently, portraits are commissioned for special occasions such as weddings or school events. Portraits can serve many purposes, from usage on a personal website to display in the lobby of a business. Still life photography. It usually depicts inanimate subject matter, typically commonplace objects which may be either natural or man-made. Still life is a broader category for food, and some natural photography can be used for advertising purposes. Fashion and glamour photography. It usually incorporates models and is a form of advertising photography. And lastly, advertising photography. Photographs made to illustrate and usually sell a service or product. These images, such as pack shots, are generally done with an advertising agency, design firm, or with an in-house corporate design team. Personal renders. Personal renders do not require the services of a professional photographer. Any income to be made here is in enabling people to take good pictures themselves, either by providing equipment, training, post-processing, or products that can be created from their photography. Unlike the other genres, personal photography is not limited to professional photographers. Rather, it is characterized by photographs of personal memories for private use taken by unskilled individuals. Nevertheless, the genre is the most widely used. Today, most families own a camera. If not, professional photographers can make money by providing the proper photographic equipment. Selfie. A selfie is a self-portrait photograph typically taken with a digital camera or camera phone held in the hand or supported by a selfie stick. Most selfies are taken with a camera held at arm's length or pointed at a mirror rather than by using a self timer. A selfie stick can be used to position the camera farther away from the subject, allowing the camera to see more around them. One of the most dominant trends in the last 5 years, however, has been the rise of selfie. Taking selfies is no longer restricted to just the youths, but has reached a worldwide appeal. From politicians, celebrities, and even astronauts aboard the International Space Station, taking selfies is now very much the norm. Selfies are no longer about just taking random pictures, but also being used to spread a larger message. A recent campaign launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi to create awareness about the girl child involved fathers taking selfies with their daughters. The campaign was a huge success, with thousands of fathers posting pictures of themselves together with their daughters on social media. Now, let us summarize the session. We may be shooting pictures every day, but how many of us know the different styles of photography that have been inspiring photographers? Understanding the different styles or genres of photography is key for developing our knowledge in the area and also for gaining an insight as to where our photography fits. This chapter discusses about the various photography genres: creative, editorial, personal, retail, and the sub-genres. Before we conclude, please try to answer the following questions. Elucidate different genres of photography with examples. Is there any different process of sharpening in different genres of photography or not? Explain. Explain the importance of selfie in the digital era. Books for reference. The Beginner's Photography Guide is published by Dorling Kindersley in 2013. Number 2, Designing a Photograph, Visual Techniques for Making Your Photographs Work. It is authored by Bill Smith. Okay, I am concluding this session. We have been discussing the various types of photography. Next time when you take a photograph, remember the genre of photography. Thank you for watching this session. See you next time. Until then, bye.